She joked around with a human. The alien warrior never expected his reaction. The lights inside Frontier Station Helios 12 flickered again, trembling like a heartbeat struggling to stay alive. Evan Mercer didn't look up. He was too busy leaning over an open coolant panel, hands deep inside a nest of glowing cables that hummed like nervous insects. He had been working for hours. Working helped him ignore the loneliness. 3 months into his 18-month contract, Evan had learned something important. The silence of an empty outpost was not quiet at all. It breathed. It watched. Sometimes it felt like it pressed its weight on your spine. A faint vibration traveled through the floor. The hair on the back of Evan's neck rose. Someone was behind him. He hadn't heard footsteps. He never did. A calm voice, low and melodic, broke the still air behind him. Your coolant nodes are misaligned. Inefficient. Evan turned. Slowly. Carefully. You didn't rush around an Aurelian warrior. Ceres Talvara stood only a few steps away, her silver-blue skin reflecting the pale station lights like polished metal. Her dark hair fell to her shoulders, glowing with tiny bioluminescent threads that pulsed softly whenever she breathed. Her uniform fit her like a second skin, outlining the lean strength beneath. Aurelians were not just soldiers. They were living weapons, built for battle, shaped for precision. Evan forced a smile. They're fine. Maybe your biology just doesn't like heat. Ceres tilted her head in that strange, elegant way her species did. It is not dislike. It is fact. Aurelian physiology requires exact conditions. Humans tolerate chaos too easily. She stepped closer, close enough that he felt a cool breeze coming from her skin. When she moved beside him, her shoulder brushed his arm, soft, smooth, and cold like metal touched by moonlight. Evan's pulse jumped. That had not been an accident. Her long fingers traced across the console keys with perfect precision. Every motion was slow, exact, almost artistic. You improvise, she said without turning. You calibrate like a human fights. Fast. Unplanned. Good thing or bad thing? That depends. Her voice lowered. On who is watching? For a moment, everything was still. The humming engines. The flickering lights. His own breathing. The air between them felt heavy, charged with something that wasn't danger but wasn't safe either. Ceres finally stepped back, folding her arms. Perhaps. I will study your method later. Her gaze lingered 1 second too long. Evan tried not to stare. He failed. Before either of them could speak again, a deep rumble rolled through the station, strong enough that tools rattled against the wall. Evan straightened, frowning at the warning lights flashing across his panel. Power fluctuation, he muttered. Again. Ceres tapped her calm. Her voice turned sharp. Auxiliary heat vault. Malfunction. I am going there now. Of course she was. Ceres never waited. She never asked for backup. Evan grabbed his toolkit and followed her out of the maintenance bay. The corridor lights flickered overhead as he ran, throwing long shadows across the metal walls. The air smelled faintly of heated coolant, a smell that always meant trouble. By the time he reached the heat vault, hot steam was spilling from the vents, fogging the air. The emergency lights covered everything in a red glow. And there she was. Ceres stood in the middle of the chamber, framed by steam and light, looking like a war statue waking up. Her skin glowed brighter from the heat, and her uniform clung tightly from the humidity. Evan took 1 step inside. The heavy blast door slammed shut behind him with a metallic hiss. He checked the control pad. We're locked in, he said quietly. Ceres's jaw tightened. Then we will fix it. Together. Evan nodded slowly, the heat rising around them like a living creature. For the first time, the lonely outpost didn't feel so empty anymore. It felt like the beginning of something dangerous. And he wasn't sure if that danger was the malfunction. Or the Aurelian standing beside him. The heat vault felt like a giant furnace waiting for a mistake. As soon as Evan stepped inside, a wave of thick, blistering air slammed into his face. It wrapped around him like a burning blanket. He coughed once, already sweating. Across the chamber, Saris Talvara moved through the sweltering heat as if she belonged to it. Steam curled around her body but didn't slow her. Her glowing skin shimmered brighter, reacting to the rising temperature. Evan wiped his forehead with the back of his arm. I swear this room hates me. Saris didn't look up. It is simply hostile to human biology. Do not take it personally. He laughed weakly. Oh, great. The room wants to kill me. Nice. She paused then, turning toward him. Her eyes were sharper now, glowing more intensely from the heat. You should not be here long. High temperatures damage human organs. Thanks, he muttered. That's comforting. The console sparked in front of her. She didn't flinch. Saris reached into the open panel, hands steady even as tiny arcs of electricity snapped around her fingers. Aurelian nerves were hardened for combat. What would injure a human barely bothered her. But Evan wasn't built to stand around doing nothing. He walked to the other side of the chamber and pulled off a panel. Lock overrides fried. If we don't reroute the power, we lose containment, Saris finished. Steam hissed behind them like a warning whisper. Minutes stretched like hours. Sweat drenched Evan's shirt. The air tasted like metallic heat. His vision blurred for a moment, but he blinked it away. Saris noticed. You are overheating, she said softly. No kidding, he muttered. I feel like roasted meat. Her expression changed, just slightly, concern slipping through her warrior mask. You use humor, she said quietly, to hide stress. Guess it's a human thing. Not all humans, she replied. Only you. Evan froze. That was unexpected. Saris stepped closer, checking the auxiliary controls above his shoulder. Her presence brought a cool wave of air, her aura calming the thick heat. Her hand brushed against his once. Lightly. Then it brushed again. Not lightly. Not accident. Saris. I am observing, she said. Her voice was low, almost a whisper beneath the roar of the vents. Observing what? How you react to proximity. His breath caught. The glow under her skin brightened as she turned her head slightly, studying him with those bright Aurelian eyes. She was too close. And somehow, not close enough. Their faces were inches apart. Evan felt the heat of the room, the cool of her body, the strange tension between them tightening like a wire. Before either of them could say another word, the console behind Saris beeped sharply. A sudden metallic hiss filled the room. The lockdown released. The heavy door slid open, letting a flood of cool air rush inside. Evan exhaled in relief, almost stumbling toward it. Saris stepped back quickly, as if remembering she was a soldier again, not whatever had just happened a moment ago. Containment stable, she said. But her voice wasn't steady. Evan grinned. That was a weird hour. Saris watched him, silent. Her eyes dimmed back to normal, but her breathing stayed just a little too slow and controlled, like she was holding something back. You should log the incident, she said. Under what category? He smirked. Death by overheating or strange emotional experiments? Saris blinked once. A tiny, tiny smile appeared on her lips. It was gone just as fast. You are unpredictable, she whispered. Evan grabbed his toolkit and walked out of the chamber. Only when he reached the hallway did he realize his hands were shaking, not from the heat, but from her. Inside the vault, Saris remained still for several seconds. Her fingers pressed lightly against her palm, right where their hands had touched. Something had changed in that room. Something neither of them understood, and neither could ignore. And Helios 12 suddenly felt much smaller than it had an hour ago. The days after the heat vault incident passed slowly, like time itself was afraid to move. Helios 12 had become nearly empty. Most personnel had transferred to the orbiting hub for resupply, leaving only a handful of engineers and soldiers scattered across the long metal halls. But for Evan, the emptiness felt different now. Because Saris Talvara was still here. He saw her more often than before. Not because she was assigned to him. Not because systems required attention. But because she simply appeared wherever he was. At first, he tried to act normal. Fix a panel. Run diagnostics. Ignore how she seemed to watch him in her quiet, unreadable way. But Saris was not easy to ignore. One evening, Evan knelt beside a flickering energy terminal, checking for loose wiring. He heard soft, silent footsteps behind him, Aurelian footsteps. "I did not call for assistance," he said without turning. "I know," Saris replied. "I came anyway." Evan sighed and shook his head, smiling. "Do you ever take a break?" "Do you?" she countered. He stood up, stretching his cramped shoulders. "This system doesn't even need fixing. I just wanted something to do." Saris studied him with calm, glowing eyes. "You seek distraction." "Yeah," he admitted. "Gets lonely here." She blinked once. Aurelians did not understand loneliness the way humans did. Their culture trained warriors from childhood to accept solitude without fear. But Saris was different. He saw it in the way her gaze softened, just slightly. She stepped closer to the terminal. The faint blue light under her skin pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. "You humans adapt to emptiness by filling it with noise. Tools. Talk. Jokes. Better than staring at metal walls all day." She tilted her head. "And better than silence. Sometimes silence is the loudest thing there is." Saris didn't answer. Instead, she moved beside him and placed her hand on the terminal he was working on. Her fingers glided over the controls with that same precision he had come to expect. But Evan noticed something new, a slight tremor. Was she nervous? He leaned forward. "You okay?" Her hand froze. "Yes," she answered too quickly. Evan smiled. "Liar." For a moment, she simply looked at him, really looked. Her eyes reflected the dim hallway light, bright but uncertain. Finally she spoke, voice low. "When Aurelian warriors achieve victory together, they share resonance. The action builds trust. You and I shared victory in the heat vault." Evan swallowed, remembering the moment her hand touched his. So that's what that was? Some kind of warrior bonding ritual? "No," she said firmly. Then softer. "It was not supposed to be." He frowned. "Meaning?" Saris stepped closer. Her voice turned almost fragile, which was terrifying coming from someone built for war. "Resonance alignment should be brief. Controlled. Efficient." She hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "But ours lasted longer." "Too long." Evan blinked. "Is that bad?" "No," she whispered. "It is rare." The air between them changed, tightening like a drawn bowstring. Saris moved even closer until he could feel the faint, cool aura her skin gave off. Her bioluminescent threads glowed brighter, more vibrant than before. Evan's heart thundered. "You sure you're not overheating this time?" Her lips twitched, not quite a smile, but close. "You are the one with temperature problems, not me." He laughed softly. It was a mistake. The sound made her glow brighten. Saris took a slow breath. "I do not understand this reaction. My body changes color." My pulse increases. My thoughts, she paused, are not orderly. Evan's smile faded. Sounds like stress. It does not feel like stress. She stepped closer still. It feels like when I enter battle. Powerful. Focused. But aimed at you. His heart practically stopped. Well, that's new. She nodded once. I am trying to determine if this is danger. Evan swallowed. Do I look dangerous? Saris lifted her hand, hovering it near his chest, over his heartbeat, just like in the heat vault. You are unpredictable, she said. Humans are unpredictable. That makes you both weak and strong. The lights above flickered, casting shifting shadows across her glowing skin. The station hummed softly around them, distant and cold. But between them, the air felt warm. Alive. Finally, Saris lowered her hand. Not far. Just enough to think. I came here, she said quietly, because the silence feels different when you are not in it. Evan froze. That was the closest thing to a confession he'd ever heard from her kind. He opened his mouth, unsure what to say. But Saris stepped back, regaining her perfect composure in one breath. This terminal is stable, she said. Your presence, however, is distracting. Evan grinned. Good distracting or bad distracting? She turned sharply. I will inform you when I understand. And she walked away, leaving him staring after her, confused, amazed, and with a strange warmth lingering in his chest. Helios 12 suddenly didn't feel lonely anymore. It felt like something was beginning. Something complicated. Something dangerous. Something neither of them could avoid. Helios 12 had always been a quiet outpost. Too quiet. Most days, the only sounds were the soft hum of machinery and the distant echo of Evan's footsteps. But tonight, something felt wrong the moment he woke. The floor vibrated under his boots. A deep, unsettling vibration, like the station was growling. Evan grabbed his toolkit out of instinct and opened the door to the corridor. The lights flickered, then steadied, then flickered again. Something in the air tasted metallic, sharp, almost burnt. Not good. Before he could contact the control room, a sharp alarm tore through the hallway. A red light flashed across the walls as a cold, robotic voice spoke. Warning. Reactor instability detected. Sector 4. Sector 4. The heart of the station. Evan didn't think, he ran. He sprinted through twisting corridors, passing empty rooms, dark corners, and flickering ceiling lights. Sweat rolled down his back, partly from fear, partly from the memory of the last time he'd faced a heat malfunction. But this felt worse. Much worse. Halfway to the reactor block, Saris's voice hit his comm. Evan Mercer. Do not approach Sector 4. Repeat, do not approach. He didn't slow. Saris, where are you? Static. Then, her voice again, tighter, breathless. I am already inside. The system is collapsing. Evacuate. Evacuate? No chance. Evan pushed harder, boots pounding against the metal floor. The air grew hotter the closer he got. A harsh burning smell filled the ventilation shafts. By the time he reached the reactor deck, the temperature was nearly unbearable. Heat rolled off the machinery in thick waves. Sparks rained down from overhead conduits. The whole chamber groaned under stress. And in the middle of it all, Saris. She stood on a narrow catwalk above the main coolant junction, her body surrounded by arcs of bright energy. Her skin glowed almost white from the heat, her bioluminescent threads flashing like lightning inside her hair. She was forcing open a sealed coolant valve with her bare hands. Saris. Evan yelled over the roar of the reactor. What are you doing? She didn't look back. Stabilizing. The automated system failed. You'll fry yourself. That valve superheated. Better me than this outpost. Evan's stomach twisted. No. Not happening. Not while he was still breathing. He charged forward and climbed the ladder to the catwalk, ignoring the heat biting into his skin. Metal burned his hands, but he kept going. Saris finally turned her head. Her eyes widened in shock. Evan, leave. Not without you. A burst of white-hot steam exploded below them, shaking the walkway. Evan stumbled forward, gripping the railing. Saris planted her feet, every muscle in her body straining against the jammed valve. Her aura flickered like a dying star. The core will breach, she said. And I cannot slow it alone. Good thing you're not alone, Evan said. He dropped to one knee beside her and jammed his wrench into the manual release track. The metal sizzled. His skin burned. His arms shook. Saris stared at him, disbelief mixing with something deeper. You are hurting yourself, she said. Yeah, he grunted. But so are you. For a moment, their eyes locked. Two different species. Two different worlds. One shared determination. On my mark, Saris said. We pull together. Evan nodded, breath shaky. 3. The reactor roared. 2. The catwalk trembled beneath them. 1, now. They pulled. The valve screamed open. A blast of cold coolant shot through the pipes, flooding the reactor core. The temperature plummeted. The alarms slowed, then softened, then fell silent. A long, heavy hush filled the chamber. Saris collapsed to one knee, breathing hard. Her glow dimmed back to its normal soft blue. Evan sank beside her, shoulders shaking in exhaustion. He laughed breathlessly. Why do these emergencies always happen when I'm nearby? Saris turned her head toward him. There was no fear in her expression. Only something warm. Something human. You came anyway, she whispered. Even when I ordered you not to. Evan shrugged weakly. You know me. I'm bad at following rules. Her eyes softened. Or very good at loyalty. For a moment, neither moved. The chamber flickered with dying emergency lights, painting them in pale red and silver. Finally, Saris spoke again, voice barely above a whisper. You risked your life for me. Saris, he said quietly. I wasn't going to let you face this alone. Something in her expression broke, not weakness, but a wall she had always kept up. Slowly, almost carefully, Saris reached out. Her cool fingers touched his burned hand. Evan froze. Her touch was gentle. Steady. Grateful. You are not what I expected, Evan Mercer. He gave a tired smile. Join the club. The station hummed softly around them, stable again. But for the first time, Saris Talvara didn't look like a weapon or a soldier. She looked alive. And for the first time, Evan felt truly connected to someone in the vast darkness of space. The reactor chamber slowly cooled, but Evan Mercer and Saris Talvara didn't move at first. They sat side by side on the trembling catwalk, both breathing hard, both covered in dust and heat marks. The emergency lights shifted from red to soft white, washing everything in calm, steady brightness. For the first time in hours, Helios 12 felt alive again. And so did something else. Evan lifted his hand, wincing at the angry red burns across his knuckles. Saris watched him silently, her eyes brighter than usual. She reached out without warning and touched the back of his hand, lightly, almost like she was afraid she might break him. He froze. Her fingers were cool against his burned skin. Cool and soothing. You are hurt, she said softly. Yeah, Evan breathed. Could have been worse. Saris didn't answer. Instead, she turned his hand gently, inspecting the damage like a healer instead of a warrior. Her face was unreadable, but her glowing threads dimmed, then brightened again, flickering like emotion trapped beneath her skin. "You should rest," she whispered. "I'm fine," he said. "You're the one who almost melted yourself." Her head tilted slightly. "Melted? That is not possible." "Believe me, it looked possible." A faint sound escaped her, something like a quiet laugh, but with a strange Aurelian softness. Evan blinked. He'd never heard her laugh before. It did something strange to his heart. Sarah suddenly grew still, her expression shifting to something more serious. When the reactor faltered, she said quietly, "I thought I would not survive." Her voice trembled, barely noticeable, but it was there. "I accepted it. Warriors are taught to accept death." Evan swallowed. "Well, good thing you had a stubborn human running into danger like an idiot." Her eyes locked with his. "You are not an idiot. That's debatable." "You are reckless," she corrected. "But not foolish." He tried to smile, but her gaze held him in place. There was something in her eyes he hadn't seen before. Something soft. Something open. Something she didn't usually let anyone see. She shifted her weight and sat facing him, her legs folded neatly beneath her. Her skin glowed faintly, reflecting the dim lights around them. When she spoke, her voice was almost too quiet for a warrior. "When you grabbed the valve with me, your pulse changed." "My pulse?" Evan echoed. "Yes," she said, her eyes following the rhythm of his breathing. "Aurelians sense resonance with our skin. When two beings share danger, our bodies can align. Our pulses, our energy, even our heat." He blinked. "Oh. Like, a team thing?" "No," she whispered. "Not a team thing." Evan's smile faded a bit. "Oh." She lifted her hand again, pausing just above his chest, hovering over his heartbeat without touching. "When danger passed," she said, "I still felt your resonance." "Still? It lingers." Evan didn't breathe for a moment. "That normal for your kind?" "No," she said, her voice trembling again. "It is rare. Very rare." Her hand finally lowered, resting gently on his chest. "Not cold this time. Just steady." Her touch sent a soft, warm wave spreading through him, like her energy was reaching out, not forcing, but asking. "Evan Mercer," she said softly, "your presence changes the quiet around me." He didn't look away. "Is that good or bad?" "I do not know yet," Saris whispered. "It feels like when a warrior enters battle, focus, heat, uncertainty. Except, it is not aimed at an enemy." The chamber around them was silent except for the soft hum of cooling machinery. Evan lifted his own hand and placed it gently over hers. He half expected her to pull away. She didn't. Instead, her breath caught. Her threads glowed brighter, pulsing in a steady rhythm, matching his heartbeat perfectly. "You feel that?" Evan whispered. "Yes," she breathed. "It should not happen. But it does." She leaned a little closer without meaning to. Her eyes softened, losing their warrior edge for just a moment. "You risked everything," she said. "For me." "You would have done the same," Evan replied quietly. Her eyes flickered, almost sad. "No. Aurelians act from duty. You acted from choice." Evan didn't know what to say. So he said nothing. Saris slowly removed her hand from his chest, but the warmth lingered between them. She stood, steadying herself on the railing. "We should return," she said, though her voice was gentler now. "The station will require full diagnostics." Evan nodded and stood beside her. "Lead the way." But before she stepped forward, Saris looked back at him, really looked. And for the first time, there was no confusion in her expression. Only certainty. You said humans leave a mark, she whispered. Evan raised a brow. Yeah. Sarah's glow brightened softly. You left one. And without waiting for his answer, she turned and walked down the catwalk, leaving him standing alone with a racing heartbeat and a warmth he couldn't explain. Helios 12 returned to routine, but the calm never truly settled. 3 days passed after the reactor incident. 3 days of quiet corridors, humming lights, and long maintenance shifts. But the station felt different now. Evan noticed it first. Strange vibrations. Short blackouts that lasted only a few seconds. Soft, metallic echoing in the ventilation shafts, like something tapping along the pipes. He tried to brush it off at first. Old stations made weird noises all the time. But his instincts warned him. Something was wrong. That evening, Evan sat alone in the comms room, running diagnostic tests. The screens flickered twice, then cleared. A soft static hiss whispered through the speakers. Helios 12 to Central Hub, he said. Requesting status ping. No response. He tried again. Nothing. Before he could run a third test, the door slid open silently behind him. He didn't have to turn to know who entered. Saris. Her presence always changed the atmosphere, like the air grew sharper around her. But tonight her glow was dimmer, her posture tight, like she was preparing for something unseen. You felt it too, Evan said quietly. Saris nodded once. There is movement outside the hull. Evan blinked. What kind of movement? I do not know. Her voice was low. Controlled. But her eyes were tense. Aurelian senses detect vibrations through metal. Something touched the outer plating, twice. Touched? Evan repeated. Like debris? No. Her gaze sharpened. It felt deliberate. A chill slid down his spine. Before Evan could respond, the comms console flickered violently. Every monitor flashed white for a second, then went dark. Then. A symbol appeared on the main screen. Alien. Geometric. Nothing he recognized. Saris inhaled sharply. That is not human code, she whispered. No kidding, Evan muttered. The symbol pulsed once. Then the speakers emitted a long, distorted tone, like a voice being stretched and shattered. Evan jumped back. What the hell was that? Saris stepped closer, eyes narrowing. It is a signal. But not encoded in any language known to Aurelians. Before he could respond, the lights flickered, dimmed, then died completely. Helios 12 fell into total darkness. The hum of the engines slowed. The air systems paused. For 2 seconds, the universe seemed to hold its breath. Evan's heart pounded. He forced his voice steady. Saris, you still here? A faint blue glow appeared in the dark. Her skin. I am here, she whispered. He exhaled in relief. Okay. Okay, that's good. What just happened? We were scanned, she said softly. Something outside took control of our systems long enough to check for life. Evan's stomach dropped. Why does that sound bad? Her glow pulsed once, the Aurelian version of concern. Because only predators scan before entering. The backup lights hummed to life, faint and cold. Evan could see Saris clearly now, rigid posture, jaw tense, eyes bright with battle instinct. She was afraid. That alone terrified him. We need to check the external sensors, Evan said. Saris shook her head slowly. No. You stay inside. If something is out there, I cannot protect you. Evan stepped closer. Well, I'm not letting you check alone. She stared at him for a moment. Not angry. Not annoyed. Just conflicted. You humans, she whispered. You choose danger even when you can walk away. Yeah, he said softly. Especially when someone I care about is in it. Her glow brightened for a second, not heat, not energy. Emotion. We go together, she finally said. But stay behind me. They moved through the dimly lit corridors, passing silent rooms and long stretches of cold metal. Everything felt too quiet. Too still. When they reached the sensor deck, Evan activated the manual panel. The screen powered on weakly, flickering like a candle in the wind. What appeared made both of them freeze. A massive shape drifted outside the station, just beyond the glass, half hidden in darkness. Not a ship. Not debris. Something alive. Its surface was covered in shifting patterns of light, like a deep-sea creature from another universe. Long, thin appendages curled slowly, tasting the void around Helios 12. Evan's mouth went dry. What is that? Sarah stared, her eyes widening in a way Evan had never seen before. That, she whispered, is older than Aurelian's. Older than human records. A void feeder. Void feeder? Evan repeated. That sounds like something that eats space. It eats what is inside stations, she said. Life. Energy. Heat. The creature pulsed once, and the station lights flickered again. It was searching. And it had found them. Sarah stepped in front of Evan, her glow intensifying like a rising shield. Stay behind me, she said. No matter what happens. Evan grabbed a tool from his belt, useless, but better than nothing. Well, he muttered, swallowing his fear, looks like we're not done risking our lives together. Saris didn't look away from the creature. Then we survive, she whispered. Together. And outside the glass, the void feeder slowly turned toward Helios 12, drawn by two beating hearts in the dark. The void feeder hovered outside the station like a living eclipse. Its massive, shadowy body blocked half the stars beyond Helios 12. Long tendrils rippled slowly through the vacuum, each one moving with eerie, patient precision. It wasn't searching anymore. It had found them. The sensors crackled with static as the creature pressed closer, its surface shimmering with patterns like shifting deep-ocean bioluminescence. Every pulse made the station groan, metal bending under invisible pressure. Evan felt his breath catch in his chest. He had seen strange things in his life, but nothing like this, nothing that felt so ancient, so quiet, and so horribly aware. Sarah stood in front of him, back straight, eyes sharp. Her glow brightened with each heartbeat, filling the dim sensor room with pale blue light. Evan, she said calmly, if this creature enters the hull, you must run. Evan stepped forward immediately. No. Not happening. She didn't turn. Void feeders consume energy. They are drawn to heat, movement, life. If I release my full resonance, it may chase me instead. That gives you. Don't finish that sentence. Her jaw tightened. You do not understand. I am built for this. My skin absorbs pressure, my nerves resist shock, my blood cools rapidly. A human, Evan interrupted, is not going to let you play bait. For the first time, Saris finally faced him. The glow in her eyes flickered with something stronger than fear, anger, then conflict, then something he recognized from their quiet moments together. You would die, she whispered. So would you. No, she said softly. I am trained for sacrifice. Evan shook his head. Well, I'm trained for stubbornness. Her glow pulsed once, frustration mixed with something like affection. But the creature outside shifted violently, slamming a tendril against the hull. The entire station shuddered. Storage crates toppled. Lights blew out. The sound was like thunder trapped in metal. Alarms screamed through the corridors. Hull fracture detected. Sector 2. Sarah spun toward the door. It is breaching. Evan grabbed her arm. What do we do? She hesitated, a rare moment for an Aurelian warrior. We make ourselves louder, she whispered. Evan blinked. Louder? Ceres placed her hand on her chest. Her glow intensified, rising like a wave. Aurelian resonance. A full energy burst might confuse it long enough to retreat. And you think we can do that? She looked at him for a long moment. We, she said slowly, cannot. Evan frowned. But you just said. I cannot do it alone, she corrected. Her hand lifted and hovered over his chest, over his heartbeat. Your resonance aligns with mine. It amplifies. The creature will sense a greater threat. It may flee. Now his heart pounded, not from fear, but from the meaning behind her words. You want to link again? Evan asked quietly. This time, she whispered, fully. He swallowed. If we do this wrong, then it will break through the hull and devour everything inside. She stepped closer. But if we succeed, we survive. Evan nodded. Then let's survive. Ceres held out both hands, palms up. Her glow brightened to a brilliant silver blue. Evan placed his hands in hers. The world exploded in light. A shock rippled through him, not painful, but powerful, like electricity mixed with a heartbeat. Their energies collided, then merged, then rose together into a single, pulsing current. His vision blurred. His skin tingled. He felt her breath, her pulse, her fear, her strength. Ceres inhaled sharply. Your resonance, it is unstable. Wild. That's just human style, Evan said through a strained laugh. Their joined glow burst outward, filling the room with radiant light that shimmered like liquid metal. The pulse raced through the walls, down the corridors, and out into space. Outside the hull, the void feeder recoiled. It twisted violently, tendrils snapping back. Its bioluminescent patterns flickered, confused, alarmed, disrupted. Then, slowly, it began to drift away. Evan sagged forward, knees buckling. Ceres caught him, her arms steady despite her own trembling. The glow around them faded to a soft hum. It is leaving, Ceres whispered. Evan let out a shaky breath. We did it. She held him closer, her forehead brushing his. No, she said softly. You did. Evan tried to smile. Guess humans aren't so fragile after all. Fragile? Ceres murmured. You are the most dangerous being I have ever aligned with. The emergency lights flickered back to life, bathing them both in pale illumination. Ceres slowly released him, but her hand lingered on his shoulder for one extra second. This resonance, she whispered, has changed something. Between us? Evan asked. Yes. Before Evan could speak again, a new alarm echoed through the station, not from the void feeder, but from the long-range scanner. A second signal had appeared. Not a creature. A ship. Unknown origin. Unknown intent. Ceres stared at the scanner. Her glow pulsed once in warning. This, she said, is not over. Evan stepped beside her, gripping a tool like a weapon. Good, he said. Because neither are we. The camera would fade to black here. A final image. Two figures standing side by side. One glowing, one burning with human resolve. As another unknown threat approaches the lonely outpost.